Welcome to Be Vape Free, a virtual field trip to educate, empower, and provide you with the real story on vaping. Unless you live under a rock, you probably see vaping all around you. Online, on TV, in movies, or even when you're just out and about. At school, in the parking lot, or maybe even in the bathroom? Gross!
They've got
vaping about liquid nicotine.
Scientists say it can change your brain.
You probably also hear scary stories about vaping in the news. Exploding batteries, nicotine addiction, and wait for it, the youth vaping epidemic. You know, the rapidly increasing number of kids vaping for the first time, and the millions more already hooked on it. Sounds scary, right? Well, it actually is. These numbers don't lie. Together, we'll learn what's behind these numbers.
These products are extremely addictive.
From teens with first-hand experiences.
The first time I was confronted with a vape, it was in middle school.
And along the way, separate vaping facts from fiction.
That's false. A study found that 99% of e-cigarettes that are sold contain nicotine.
Expose the truth about vaping ads.
We need to tell other kids that what they see online is not necessarily what they need to do as well, even if they see it from big influencers.
And go beyond just saying no.
If he doesn't want to be my friend because of that, then he's not really my friend.
With tips on how to avoid vaping to help you and your friends be vape free. On behalf of Discovery Education, Catch Global Foundation, and the CVS Health Foundation, welcome to Be Vape Free. Today, teens and experts from across the country will join us virtually to share their stories and help us learn about the danger of vaping. We'd also like to hear what you and your friends are seeing and hearing about in your school and neighborhood. Send us your questions, pictures, and stories to #BeVapeFree. While you think about that, let's go back in time to the beginning when e-cigarettes were born.
Actually, it wasn't that long ago. Electronic cigarettes started appearing in 2003 after being invented in China. Since then, their use has grown by leaps and bounds around the world. E-cigarettes are electronic devices that vaporize a flavored liquid. They come in multitudes of shapes and sizes. All have a power source, usually a lithium battery. E-liquid, which contains things like flavors and nicotine. An atomizer that heats up the liquid in a tank where the e-liquid goes. Heating this e-liquid creates a vapor, which consists of fine particles that contain varying amounts of toxic chemicals linked to cancer, respiratory disease, heart disease, and, most recently, a mysterious and deadly lung disease.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Figueroa. I'm 17 years old. I go to Port St. Lucie High School. What I love to do in my free time is I love to dance, and I've been dancing for 9 years. What I love mostly about dance is how I can express my feelings through dance. It gets me excited, and I get so happy and pumped when I'm on stage. And I feel that if I was to vape myself as a dancer, that I would be letting my team down. Now that I'm the oldest at the studio and little kids look up to me, I feel like I wouldn't be a good role model. And I felt that if I was to vape as a dancer, that I wouldn't be as good as a dancer as I am right now. Another passion of mine is helping my friends and other kids stay vape free. What sparked my passion with this was when I joined a club called Students Working Against Tobacco, also known as SWAT. My first time joining SWAT was when I went on a Taco Tuesday night, and I had so much fun, but I also remembered about that night was how many kids and how many parents don't know the long-term effects of vaping. One thing that struck me during that meeting was when they showed a slide of how many kids were vaping throughout the year. And what was crazy to me was after I left that meeting, it changed my point of view of everything, including going to school and not realizing how much vaping has affected a lot of students in schools. People just think that it's water vapor, but I think it's important that we have to spread the effects and what it causes to your body. I was very mind blown about how many kids don't know what they're putting into their lungs, and I just had a passion to let other kids know that it's important to know what they're putting in their lungs. Throughout the years, I heard a lot of things about vaping, and until I started to learn more about it, I actually believed most of them. Unfortunately, there's a lot of students out there that still believe that these myths are true.
Let's separate fact from fiction by exposing common myths about vaping and e-cigarettes.
Hi, I'm Dr. Garth Graham. I'm a cardiologist and I work with CVS Health. Today, we're going to talk about vaping and hopefully debunk some of the myths and misconceptions that we all have around vaping and how it impacts your health.
Is it true that e-cigarettes are harmless?
So, e-cigarettes might reduce harm for some people who smoke, but it doesn't mean that it's harmless. In fact, e-cigarettes contain a whole bunch of chemicals and the kinds of things that can damage your lung tissue. So it has nicotine, it has propylene glycol, it has all these kinds of things that get spread and aerosolized into the air. And then when you breathe those in, those kinds of chemicals cause direct damage to the tissue in your lungs. What does that do? It makes you susceptible to all kinds of potential current and future illnesses and does not allow your lungs to function as properly as they should. So e-cigarettes can be very, very dangerous for your lungs.
Is e-cig vapor just flavored water?
E-cigarettes contain no water at all. They contain aerosol, and the aerosol has chemicals. Those chemicals can come together in your lungs to form cancer-causing agents like formaldehyde.
Is it true that vaping doesn't lead to smoking?
That's actually false. In fact, many times vaping can be an on-ramp to smoking. Young adults who use e-cigarettes are 4 times as likely in the next 18 months to go on to cigarettes.
Is it true that e-cigarettes don't contain nicotine?
That's false. A study found that 99% of e-cigarettes that are sold contain nicotine. Those e-cigarettes that are sometimes called 0% nicotine still have been found to have traces of nicotine within them.
Is it true that you can't get addicted to e-cigarettes?
Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Young brains under the age of 25 are particularly susceptible to addiction. Nicotine can prime the brain for addiction later in life, and it may take 1, 2, or 3 more times to get over that addiction. So can we become addicted to e-cigarettes? Yes, we can.
I started to notice it more at school, and then I started to notice it more online as well, such as YouTube, where big influencers have been showing vapes, not necessarily trying to really show it off, but more of trying to be sneaky with it. They could be talking and you can see it in their hand, and I started to notice that a lot. All these e-cigarette companies were spreading their advertisement to others. I felt used because I had fallen for it, and I'm scared that other kids are going to fall for it as well. I also see it a lot on Snapchat when people post on their private stories about selling them, vaping in school bathrooms, and also kids are vaping in classrooms because they're trying to be funny when really they're making others uncomfortable.
What's the real story about all the vaping we see online? Are influencers getting big bucks to vape on their channels? Are we being duped into thinking vaping is cool by big business? Marketing expert Logan Nelson has the answers.
Hello everyone, my name is Logan Nelson. I'm a marketing specialist with Truth. You may be wondering, who is Truth? I'm definitely here to tell you. Truth is a nationally recognized youth prevention campaign specifically for tobacco and vaping. We're here to help arm you with the facts so that you can make the best choices for yourself, as well as expose big tobacco's lies and their manipulative tactics that they've done for decades. So what is advertising? Advertising is a big way for organizations to be able to sell their product to people just like you and me. The way that they do this is they really want to be able to relate to who the buyer is. They want you to feel like you are the person in the actual ad. The tricky thing about it is, while there are great organizations out there who have great products that they're selling or a great message behind it, some people are not all out for the greater good. Companies like Big Tobacco have been doing this for decades. They have a ton of marketing campaigns that they've put out specifically to target young people. But what's crazy is actually in the 1990s, regulations came around saying that Big Tobacco could no longer target young people with ads specifically around cigarettes. Great news, I know. But we have newer things and products that have come out now that actually do not have the same strict regulations. Things like Juul, e-cigarette products, which are a ton of different brands, they have more leeway now to actually target people just like you and just like me. And they do it in a ton of different ways. Since the beginning of Juul's inception, they've relied heavily on social media marketing. For their launch alone in 2015, they spent over $1 million to market their product. $1 million. Do you wish you had that in your bank account? Because I do. That's insane. But what's even crazier is that it was working. It actually deemed them one of the most popular e-cigarette brands to ever hit the market. So now we have various e-cigarette brands that are out on the market, and they actually don't face hard restrictions and limitations compared to other tobacco products. Now, the thing that this allows is for these big vape companies to target young people just like you and me. But how do they do it? They show up in spaces that young people love the most. Yes, this means social media, through our favorite influencers that we love and can really relate to and that we aspire to be one day, through on-the-ground events that we may love, whether it's a festival or just a cool event that's being held at your school. I know that's crazy too. But they show up in the places where they know young people are going to be drawn to and that they know that they're going to stick around and continuously come back. Have you ever been scrolling on your Instagram feed? You're scrolling, looking at pictures that your friends have posted or just fun things that's going on in the world, and you randomly come across a post. It looks very authentic to the things that you normally follow. You wouldn't really think twice about it because it looks like somebody you could know, but in actuality, you don't know who this person is. You've never followed this account, and you realize that it's a sponsored ad that's been populated into your feed. Vape companies are very, very, very good at this tactic. They understand where young people are, and they're here to target you through places like social media that you would think are more private for yourselves, but in actuality, they're not that private. This goes beyond vape companies actually posting pictures of young people using their products on their social media channels. What they lean into a lot more is this peer-to-peer interaction. That includes you direct messaging your friend on social media about the new product that you've been using, sending videos on TikTok or on other social media channels, putting it on your feed. You're actually doing all of the legwork for these vape companies when they're not spending a dime and you're getting nothing in return. The bottom line is e-cigarette companies are targeting young people. We want to make sure that you're armed with the facts so that you can call out the BS and be able to understand their manipulative tactics when you see them. You have a voice. You have a ton of power. Be able to tell your friends and the people around you so that they know the same too. You want to know the truth, you want to exercise the truth, and we know that you can do it.
Did you know that peer pressure is one of the main reasons people start vaping? Let's hear from other teens who stood up against the pressure to vape with stories of how they said no.
Hi, my name is Patricia Stepnick, and I'm with the Catch My Breath program. Let's break down how each of these students stood tall, said no, and set an example on how to lead a vape-free life.
So the first time I was confronted with a vape, it was in middle school, my 8th grade year. This kid came up to me in class and he said, "Oh, do you want a vape?" And I was like, I'm good, like, I don't want to. And so the day after that, he started offering to me and I was like, I don't want to do it, like, don't push it on me, like, I'm good. And when he saw that I was serious about, like, me not vaping, he was like, okay, let me just cool off about it. But, like, it kind of bothered me because, like, if I said no the first time, why would he try to still push it on me?
Emily's refusal was simple and strong. By simply saying no, she got her point across that she did not want to try an e-cigarette. If you are ever found in the same situation, stand tall, be strong, and simply say no.
So this one time, my friend came up to me asking if I wanted to hit from a disposable. I said no because I don't care what people think, and, well, if he doesn't want to be my friend because of that, then he's not really my friend.
By knowing and valuing his self-worth, Kyle was able to express his expectations for friendship. He didn't let somebody else shame him for his decision regarding e-cigarettes. He made a plan to go out and find friends that would support and value his decisions to live an e-cigarette-free life. If you find yourself in a similar situation, don't let anybody else bring you down because you want to live a healthy and vape-free life.
I myself have never been put in a situation where there's been peer pressure for me to use these products, but I've thought about scenarios in my head where I would simply tell the person no. I tend to steer clear of any situations where I would be put in that situation in the first place. If there is any sort of group that is going to plan on vaping, I would just not tend to hang out with that group. Or if I have a friend that is planning on going to a party where there's going to be vaping involved, I would try my best to talk them out of it to where they wouldn't have to go to the party in the first place.
Blake has thoughtful and pre-planned exit strategies if ever put in a situation where he's offered an e-cigarette. He's taken it one step further and avoided situations altogether where he might be offered to vape. If you find yourself in a situation where you might be offered an e-cigarette, think of ways to get out of it. It's okay to pre-plan your exit strategy. Leaving a party earlier or not hanging out with people that might offer you an e-cigarette is a great strategy to live a vape-free life.
I had already learned the harmful effects about vaping, and when I was offered a jewel pod from my friend, I was offended, and obviously my answer was no. And after I said no, he never asked me ever again. And ever since that day that he asked me, I was more cautious about what I was going to say to people when they would offer me. But everyone knows that my answer is always going to be no because I'm very against it, because I know the long-term effects of it and I don't want to put that inside my body.
Lisbeth prepared herself with the health consequences of using an e-cigarette when forming her pre-planned refusal skills and exit strategies. Without hesitation, she was able to simply say no. She thought ahead to other situations where she might be offered an e-cigarette and planned additional ways to get out of the situation. If you think that you might ever be put in a situation where you're offered an e-cigarette, prepare yourself with the health, social, and legal consequences of vaping to help inform your exit and refusal strategies.
Well, that wraps up the Be Vape Free virtual field trip. We'd like to extend a sincere thanks to Catch Global Foundation and the CVS Health Foundation. We'd also like to thank Lisbeth Figueroa, Dr. Garth Graham, Patricia Stepnick, Logan Nelson from the Truth Initiative, and especially all of the students who shared their stories. For more information about Be Vape Free, go to bevapefree.org.